Are we ready, Jagdeep?
Yeah, hi, yes we are. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you. Yeah, not too bad. Sorry, man. I'm trying to get this thing recorded, and the only way I've now found is via having like a laptop, because for some reason I just can't get it bleeding done on the phone. So, and I'm now, as we speak, I'm also live streaming onto YouTube, and hopefully it worked to Facebook as well, but at least to YouTube. So let's go live then. You all right? Everything okay?
Yep, all good, thank you.
Good, man. Let's do this. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 118th session. We've been doing these for over 3 years now, where we had over 260,000 people that have joined us across our 4 regular rooms that we do per week, which are Talent on Mondays, Product and Tech on Tuesdays, and Growth on Wednesdays. And then tomorrow on Thursdays, we do a room on fundraising. We're here to help startups with whatever questions you may have on growing your business to the next stage. Those questions could be on anything from your user, vendor, client, partner acquisition, growth hacks, go-to-market, or things like sales and marketing and advertising and branding and all that jazz. The idea is quite simple. You see, unfortunately, over 90% of businesses fail. And the top 3 reasons for that are 1, market fit, 2, running out of money, and 3, not having the right people. But when it comes down to it, there's only one thing that matters: enough people or companies buying your product or service. If you haven't got enough of those, then you're doomed to fail. It's as simple as that. We believe that sales cures everything. So hopefully we'll be able to help some of you today with whatever queries you have in growing your business and taking it to the next stage. I've got a brilliant growth and product and tech experts as well, actually. But today with Jagdeep, we're going to focus on growth and go through some questions live, perhaps some questions that were sent in to us as well, and then take it from there. We're only going to be here for an hour, so please do feel free to share us with your network. The more the merrier. Since we've moved from Clubhouse to LinkedIn, we're not getting the numbers we used to, so we could use all the help we can get. If you do find any value in this, that is. On the other hand, please feel free to check us out on StartUp where you can actually register for all future Q&As that you prefer. Now, without further ado, we'll go to some quick introductions and then open it for questions from the floor. My name's 𝗦𝘁𝗿. I'm an Albanian in London. I spent many years being part of founding teams, founder or co-founder. Most of my adventures were monumental, spectacular failures. A couple didn't do too badly. And then I worked as a talent partner for various startups, and I would embed in their teams once they got some investment to help them hire and keep the right people. I now mainly focus on the startup to scale up .club, but I also do still some talent partner work, some growth advisory, and especially lately helping investors, i.e. angel investors and some family offices with their due diligence and assessment. And the floor is yours now, Jagdeep.
Great, thank you, Anton. This is Jagdeep Bambra. I'm based in the UK in Epsom. In terms of my background, it's all coming up to almost 30 years in the industry across the various sectors, industries, geographies. And what I do, mainly work with the C-level, board-level members of organizations of various sizes and get them to a good place. So this could be anything from improving return on investment, reducing total cost of operations, innovation, etc. In terms of my disciplines, I mainly work as a fractional CTO, but also C-level advisor, currently working with organizations both in the health tech sector and others, and focused primarily on implementing AI specifically in some of these organizations, I also run my own publishing house as well, which is pretty successful, if I should say so myself. And that's myself. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Jagdeep. I am sharing this with my other social media platforms. And in that time, if you wouldn't mind, Jagdeep, what would you say to you are the most important things, both do's and don'ts, when it comes to early stage growth? Let's say from that sort of 0 to 100. What are, I don't know, if you can think of 3 each, that would be great. In terms of what you think are the biggest do's and don'ts.
Yeah, sure. So I'd say a do would definitely be focusing on product market fit. So the idea is that make sure your product actually meets the target market, and do your research on this to understand the market, the demographics, your audience segmentation, the personas that you're trying to aim at. It's nothing worse than trying to scattergun approach. It's based on many levels. Another one would be build a strong team around you. So make sure you've got people who bring in the skill sets that you require at the point in time, contextually, in terms of where your maturity of your organization is. Obviously, as your organization evolves, you may need to exit people, you may need to hire new people. So be conscious that at any point in time, your organization should have the right people, especially those who share the vision and the values in an organization. I would say a third do would be, and again from recent experience, is always have clear goals and metrics. Some people call them OKRs, some people call them KPIs, depending on semantics, but ultimately they kind of do the same thing, which is you have a specific goal in mind, how do you measure it, and how do you achieve it, and keep track of that achievement, and try and be objective about those decisions. Thinking about don'ts, which I would say I'll try and avoid the one relating to the ones I've just mentioned on the do's. But I would say be conscious of your finances and don't overspend excessively on non-essential items. So this could be anything from new technology, new systems, platforms, etc. Try not to go too early, and this means that essentially you're incurring a high amount of overheads very early. Related to that is also try and avoid diluting equity too early. So what I've seen with many founders historically, and again, those I advise, is that they are very quick to exchange equity for help. But this is a big danger because it becomes very challenging if you want to make decisions in the company in future. Either you want to sell it, or you might want to make acquisitions or mergers, etc. So be very conscious about not diluting your equity. Never ignore market research, and again, this leads towards product failures and wasted resources. So it's always the case that many founders, CEOs who are at the helm, have an emotional attachment to their product. However, that emotional attachment can also be a detractor. In other words, you may be seeing things through glazed eyes and not being objective about your product. And as the market changes, you may have to pivot, or you may have to change. And don't be afraid of doing this, but providing what objective data. The last one, I would say, especially in the growth spaces, don't micromanage. Related to the other point is that founders and CEOs, etc., always feel, because of that emotional attachment, that you also feel like it's your baby, your product, and you're very keen about making sure everyone does what they need to do, etc. But the danger there is you end up micromanaging. You should hire people who you trust and allow them and empower them to make that decision. In many cases, micromanagement can destroy creativity, productivity, and actually introduce a very poor culture in the organization, which again inhibits growth. So those are my initial ones, again, just based on a few conversations I've had this week and last. But again, it's not an exhaustive list.
Well, those are some brilliant points there. Thank you very much for that, Jagdeep. Really appreciate it. I think we'll now go on to some questions. By the way, just a quick reminder, this is Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 118th session. we had over 260,000 people join us across our 4 regular weekly sessions: Mondays, talent; Tuesdays, product and tech; Wednesdays, growth; and Thursdays, fundraising. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. We've recently moved from Clubhouse to LinkedIn Live Audio, and we need all the help we can get if you'd like to share these. On the other hand, if you've got any questions, there are no right or wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. Your questions on growth can be on anything to do with, let's say, your user, client, vendor acquisition, partner acquisition, growth hacks, go-to-market, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, and all that jazz. All you have to do is raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage. You introduce yourself and then fire away with your question. Please also feel free to check us out on StartUp to ScaleUp.club, where you can basically register for future Q&As and RSVP to those. But without further ado, whilst we're waiting for somebody to come up with questions live, we'll go to some of the questions that were sent in to us, Jagdeep. This one, okay, maybe not this one now. All right, how about this? How can I measure the effectiveness of my marketing campaigns? This is from somebody who's working on, oh, that's interesting. She's working on a mental health app, and she wants to know, and she's based in London, she wants to know in terms of measuring the marketing campaigns for the big launch. So I'm assuming she plans to launch the MVP and hasn't been launched yet. So she wants to know, what are some ways to measure, how can I measure the effectiveness of my marketing campaigns before the big launch? Any thoughts on that, Jagdeep?
Yeah, sure. So there's some generic ones without understanding the full detail of the app, but I would say one is to actually have performance indicators. So these would be KPIs that you can track. So some would include, for example, user acquisition. They may be user retention, engagement rates. They may be conversion rates. In other words, how many people express interest, how many people actually sign up, how many people actually subscribe and purchase a product, and how many people would actually essentially procure more services through the app. I'm assuming it may be a subscription model in some shape or form. If there is a website, then associated with that similarly is looking at where the sources of your users are coming from. So they could be from a search, it could be social media, it could be through paid adverts. So these are kind of more associated with the analytics, understanding your audience a bit better, and also things like bounce rates as well. One thing to also look at is with the app is session duration, especially if you're dealing with an app which is more interactive, is how long are people actually spending time engaging with the app and specific pages, etc. Another one would be typically user feedback and surveys. So this could be pre or post or during. In other words, when you've completed a particular user journey, you might be asked to provide feedback ad hoc, or it might be offline. In other words, you might be sent an email after you've carried out a particular task or you've gone through a particular journey. And again, that feedback is valuable because you can get a bit more information about how things are working. The other area would be also around A/B testing. So if you're carrying out campaigns, for example, you can utilize A/B testing and understand even metrics such as click-through rates, for example, conversion rates. In terms of campaigns, if you're running them on social media, then also look at typical aspects such as engagement, reach, follower growth, and a lot of the platforms now offer you those analytics, especially if you subscribe to the business tier, and that detail can give you feedback as to how effective your campaign actually is. Again, always try and target your campaign well. The better you targeted your campaign, the more likely you are to get relevant data coming back to you. If you're looking at email marketing, then similarly look at things like click-through rates. How many people actually click on the links in your emails, for example? How many people open up your emails? How many people opt in or opt out of your email list? So those would be the initial ones. And I would say if you with the app also, one thing to be conscious of is that the the app stores themselves actually give you quite a lot of analytics. So these would be things like download rates, rankings, user reviews, ratings, and these could be they could either go up or down depending on campaigns, and that's an effective measure on how effective your campaign is as well. If you, especially if you're asking people to download your app and utilize particular features. If you have in-app purchases, then Apple, for example, will give you data about how many people have procured your in-app purchases, and that gives you an understanding about, for example, which product is doing well, which product is not doing well, and you may be able to pivot if you need to. And I would say the last one which I can think of is referral rates as well. So how many people are referring the app to others, for example, as a result of a campaign. You might offer loyalty rewards, schemes, etc. And again, that's an effective measure about how well people take to your app as well, and does that go up or down as a result of a campaign. So those would be my initial ones. Again, a lot of these are pretty generic, but they're good starter points to actually see how effective campaigns are.
You're on fire today, Jagdeep. Thank you very much for that, man. That is brilliant. The only thing I would add, and this is just based on the question, making the assumption here that you haven't, so when you mention the big launch, maybe your app is not out there yet. I definitely would advise you to get some people to try it without, or before you go public. But one of the things that is worth doing in terms of measuring that is to, I hope you have some kind of landing page, or at least, if not a full website, at least some kind of landing page whereby you can get people to sign up to download the app. You want to create some kind of FOMO, especially if you've left a sort of launch date. You want to create some kind of FOMO, and you want to get as many people to sign up. And that's where I would focus on. If that is the case, that's where I would focus on in terms of measuring all those conversions that Jagdeep mentioned, but at the same time, you also do want to have a small group that will test this app before you've gone live. Right here, we've got two people on stage, so a quick reset of the room, and then we'll go to 𝗁𝗍, and then after that to Peter. This is Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 118th session. We've been doing these for over 3 years now. We had over 260,000 people join us whilst we were on Clubhouse across our 4 regular sessions. Mondays, talent; Tuesdays, product and tech; Wednesdays, as you can see today, it's growth; and tomorrow, Thursdays, it's fundraising. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. We're now here on LinkedIn Live Audio, and we've moved from Clubhouse. So we need all the help we can get. If you're finding any value in this, please do share it and engage with this session. As far as today, we're helping startups with growth. So anything to do with your user, vendor, client, partner acquisition, growth hacks, go-to-market, or just sales, marketing, advertising, and branding in general. But without further ado, please do correct me, by the way, if I'm mispronouncing your name. Is it 𝗁𝗍?
Yeah, it's Anton. It's 𝗁𝗍.
𝗁𝗍, I'm sorry about it. 𝗁𝗍, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and fire away with whatever you have for us today.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Anton and Jagdeep. So I'll introduce myself. So I'm 𝗁𝗍, and I'm the CEO of IATX. And IATX has its own no-code software development platform where businesses can build their own customized software management systems and integrate their existing current systems. And obviously, like any other no-code solution, it reduces the development work, time, and cost. In our experience, it goes up to 50% of reduction in these things, but at the same time, it also accelerates the product launch or whatever the software the business is building. So what this means is accelerating the revenue generation for that business. there's a lot of no-code solutions as well. So, I don't know if people on this call know what no-code is, but just one line definition is no-code basically means 0 line of coding, no programming to build the software. So there's a lot of no-code platforms in the market, but our target audience is where there is a lot of data. So in terms of manufacturing industries, healthcare, logistics, where, for example, business needs to develop an inventory management system. So there's a lot of data. We build that software for them, build that whole table database, integrate it to the financial systems and everything they would ask us to do. So currently, I got to know about StartUp to ScaleUP Club through London and Partners, and this is my first ever session on LinkedIn
You're
Audio.
very welcome.
Thank you. This is my first ever session on LinkedIn Audio as well, so it looks interesting, LinkedIn Audio as well. So I was a bit hesitant how what's the mute unmute button and all that, but everything sounds and looks smooth so far. So currently we are looking to target tech startups. Since we're quite young, we want to start small. So tech startups that would need development work and may not have the budget. And some of the businesses might be currently outsourcing their work overseas. So since we have this platform that could be affordable to them, even more reasonable.
So, hey, can I ask you something? Sorry to interrupt.
Sure. Yeah,
so
go ahead.
you said basically the way it works is this is no code, but this is you building those systems rather than the client. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a good question, Anton. So there's two customer segments. So one customer segment is we provide this as a product to software development businesses where they can add this product in their portfolio. And the second customer segment is just businesses where we provide the whole service. So we deliver the whole software project for them.
Personally, I'll give you my quick 2 pence and then I'll pass you over to Jagdeep.
Sure.
I wouldn't strongly advise you to go to startups simply because they haven't got money. Most of them haven't got money. Now, there may be some that, have got some money and haven't got the technical know-how, but most of them haven't got the money. And, you just spend a lot of time and put in a lot of effort for not so much benefits, if that makes sense. What I would personally do is I would look to be extremely niche and maybe try and do it still in those 2 verticals that you mentioned. So one, partnerships. I'm a huge fan of partnerships. So you go to some agencies that do some other work, but they haven't got this in their portfolio. And here I would be very careful, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to go to an agency who says we do this ourselves, and then you're going with something that completely kind of disqualifies their work, because you're saying, look, there's no need to pay, just for argument's sake, right? There's no need to pay £10,000 to do that from scratch when we can do it on no code for £2,000. I'm just taking an example here.
Yeah.
So that's not what you want to do. That's on one hand. And then on the other hand is you want to go to companies that can afford to pay you. So my advice to you would be to go to businesses that, just for argument's sake, who needs XYZ system? So who needs a customer management system? Who needs, but it cannot afford or would not be served as well by going to somebody like Salesforce. So you have to find that niche of a business that has the money, needs to build something from scratch rather than go to Salesforce or some other system, right? Personally, I would stay away from the startups, but I'd love to hear what Jagdeep has got to say. Jagdeep?
Yeah, hi Sahib. Just kind of echoing what Anton said, but probably from a slightly different angle also, is that one, startups may or may not have money, but secondly also is in many cases there's a lot of competitors out there, Airtable, etc., APN, etc. Even the likes of Microsoft, etc., offer a lot of low code and no code options. So you are fighting against a list of competitors that are far more known in that ecosystem, and in many cases they also offer free credits, etc. I think the question would be what makes you different and why, and being very clear about your USP, as Anton mentioned earlier, is niche. What is your niche, and why would people use you over any other platform or ecosystem? Those would be the things that I would say probably you need to nail. But startups are a challenge, and especially because in many cases, especially the ones I've worked with previously, again, I'm talking about probably about 30 plus startups I've advised or worked with. Majority of them outsource, and they don't outsource in the UK. They typically outsource in far cheaper geographies just to get going. And you're fighting a big challenge because over there they can get a bespoke platform, software, apps, websites, etc., built to their, tailored to their needs. And in some cases, they probably don't need or care about low-code platforms because CEOs or founders are focused on getting MVP out. And if somebody says, "Yep, we've got a team of 5 people, it's going to cost you $1,000 for a month to get this out of the door," why not? As an example. So that's a commercial reality. If you're looking at companies that are going scale up or SMEs, again, the question will be, why would they choose your platform over their existing tech and over the existing platforms in the industry that people are far more used to? And the big aspect also is risk. So many CEOs or decision makers will look at risk. What is the risk of using your platform versus another one? What can you guarantee over and above what is available out there in the market? So those would be other elements, even things like exit strategies. If I use your platform, how easy is it for me to onboard, but how easy is it for me to take my data and everything out of your platform and move to another one, because I may not necessarily be wanting your platform in 1, 2, maybe 3 years time. So these would be aspects I'd think about if you're looking to target, but it's not an easy market. And just on that last point, depends on where you're targeting startups. Assuming you're targeting them in the UK, then yeah, again, commercial realities play in. And if you're looking at other geographies, I would say do your research in terms of how startups actually try and get their tech built, and this varies sector to sector as well. So yeah, apologies, a bit of a fluffy answer, but yeah, it's a pretty broad topic.
Thank you very much, Shahid. Really appreciate it. I hope you found that helpful. And actually, Shahid, a couple of more things that may help. And what I've seen, probably Jagdeep is sick of hearing this from me, but what I've seen work well, or in terms of what makes for success, it's something called 𝗦𝘁𝗿. If you've got a pen and want to write it down, say. So N stands for need. So you've got to think, what is the need that you're fulfilling? What is the problem that you're solving, right? W stands for want. Sorry, you've got to think, who's going to want this? Basically, you need to work out that customer persona that Jagdeep touched on as well. And a good way to do that is to sort of take 3 circles. 1, who exactly needs this most? 2, who's more willing and easier to get money from? And 3, which one of these am I going to be most likely to make very happy with my work? And then you literally just rank them, this customer persona, that customer persona, and you start from, let's say, the top 3. You start with 1. If that works, good, then you can add to the other one. If it doesn't work, you scrap it and you go and you move on to the next one. And then going back to the 𝗦𝘁𝗿, I stand for innovation. You've got to think, what is the innovation that you're bringing to the fore? What are you doing different to what's in the market? And D, this is really important, stands for disruption. Who are you disrupting out there? Basically, you've got to be very clear in your head, in your mind, as to who you're going to steal clients from, as vulgar as that sounds. And as important as the need or the problem solving, S, which stands for scalability. Is this scalable? How are you going to get money from people? How are you going to do it? What is it that you have that will help you scale it? And what is it that you need to get that will help you scale it? And in my experience, that tends to work well. If you put all those down on a piece of paper, it can help you kind of clarify kind of your way forwards. I hope that helps, Ahid.
No, yeah, that helps a lot, Anton and Jagdeep. Thank you for your feedback. I'm not sure if I have more time to speak, but I'll give you the mic to go ahead, because there might be other people to introduce themselves.
No worries. Thank you very much for joining us. A quick reset of the room. We had a couple more people. We had Peter who came up, and then another person that raised their hand, but now they've disappeared both. Nevertheless, this is Startup Growth Q&A. We do this every Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, where we seek to help startups like yourselves with whatever questions you may have on growing your business to the next stage. There are no right or wrong questions for that matter, and there's no need to be shy. It's a learning curve for us all. Your questions today could be on anything that may help you go from zero to hero. So your user acquisition, vendor, partner, client acquisition, growth hacks, go-to-market, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, and all that jazz. All you have to do is raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage, you introduce yourself, and then fire away with your questions. By the way, feel free to check us out on startup-to-scaleup.club, where you can register and RSVP to future Q&As. We do 4 of those per week: Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, and Thursday's fundraising, and they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. If there are no live questions, we've got some questions that were sent in to us. Okay. Here's one that might be good to go through today. She says, what are some effective ways to optimize my website for conversions? We have launched a website and a WhatsApp group for mothers going through postpartum, and just for everyone else, this is women that have sort of some difficulties with coping and mental health after giving birth. And she says we're also planning to launch an app in the next few months. But for now, what would be some of the most effective ways to optimize our website for conversions? And the way we make our money is initially free, but eventually we want to have subscription fees as well as marketplace. Jagdeep, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm assuming that this would be conversions in terms of people signing up versus procuring something. So I'd say, based on those assumptions, then there's some basic things you could do in terms of improving the website around things like SEO, and optimizing it from that perspective. Looking at the navigation, the UX, UI, the way the website is actually architected, how easy is it for people to navigate, using good quality visuals, making sure that the page loads well. The navigation is very simple, intuitive. Social proof, in other words, are you accredited? Do you have any reviews, case studies, trust badges, testimonials? People can essentially verify and confirm that you are who you are, you provide the service you do, and it's of high quality. Look at mobile optimization as well, because again, many people would be looking at the website on mobile devices. This includes phones, tablets, etc. Make sure you've got a clear value proposition, which is articulated and related to the UX, UI, and the use and the feel is also reducing friction. In other words, how quick is it from the point of going onto the website to actually carrying out an action. So this could be signing up, it could be onboarding, it could be making a purchase. So reduce the barriers to entry when you're actually kind of looking to get people buying your services and signing up. Look at potentially live chat if you can, or at least chatbots where they feed off of FAQ. So something automated where if there's any questions, concerns, worries, etc., people can essentially access some kind of live chat or a chatbot in the back end. Always make sure your content is optimized, and try and where possible, try and personalize it. And this might include offers, recommendations, preferences, behaviors. If you're asking people to sign up on the website and create an account, make sure that they've got the ability to actually, at a minimum level, personalize it, etc. And again, where possible, especially given the sector you're in, is you need to essentially provide an element of trust. So you need to communicate that trust and security across to the users as well, especially if they're inputting personally identifiable information, and make sure you've got policies in place. You've presented them with privacy policies, end user license agreements, any GDPR or data related aspects as well. So people are clear about what they get, what you're taking, and what the expectations are. You may want to use something like Hotjar or something like that, or Google Analytics, to make sure you understand user behavior. You can track what they're doing, etc. So that will give you an understanding about metrics and what your conversion rate is as well. Those would be the initial things I can think about. And again, it goes without saying that I'm assuming that you've got a pricing strategy in place, and or a subscription model that you can utilize. And again, that's clearly communicated to users. So yeah, those would be my kind of initial thoughts on this one.
Thank you very much for that, Jagdeep. Really appreciate it. Righto, I see a few people that have joined. I see one that was up on stage earlier and he disappeared. If you want to come back up, Peter, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll bring you up. As far as the others that have just joined, this is Startup Growth Q&A. We do this every Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, where we seek to help startups with whatever questions you may have on growing your business from zero to hero. I also see somebody that was here yesterday on product. If you want to come up and go into a bit more detail on that growth aspect that we spoke today, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll bring you up. We're only going to be here for the next 20 minutes. And your questions today, by the way, can be on anything from user, client, vendor, partner, acquisition, to sales, marketing, branding, advertising, growth hacks, go-to-market, and all that jazz. There are no right or wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy. All you have to do is raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage, introduce yourself, and then fire away with your questions. If you're finding any value in this, please do feel free to share it with your network. We've had over 260,000 people that have joined us whilst we were on LinkedIn, on Clubhouse. So we now move to LinkedIn and need all the help we can get in terms of letting people know that we're here now. By the way, we run 4 regular rooms per week: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, and Thursdays fundraising. If you go to StartUp to ScaleUp.club, you can RSVP to any of these sessions between now and the 19th of December and make sure you secure your place. But without further ado, Peter, thanks for coming up. Please introduce yourself and fire away with whatever you've got for us today.
Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to speak. And Anton, by all means, keep me straight if I end up talking about something I shouldn't. So my name's Peter Reynolds. I'm an enterprise and solutions architect. I have actually just set up my own business in the last couple of weeks or so, really to exploit the contract market. The reason why I joined this session was actually, you can blame Jagdeep, because I connected with Jagdeep some time ago. I noticed that he was in a live event, so I thought I'd join in and listen. My immediate interest in raising my hand and sharing is just to add to Jagdeep's excellent guidance on the marketing KPIs piece. But I just heard again going back to this conversation, he touched upon my consent, which is essentially the proper handling and obtaining of consent over the use of marketing data and information, personally identified information, etc. So he covered that already. I don't think I need to say it again. So good catch on that one again, Jagdeep. If any of you need any, let's say, guidance or help in respect of, let's say, architecture work, whether it be strategy formulation, or strategy execution, or indeed the technical architecture side of things, I'm here and available if you need any assistance in that respect. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Peter. Now, we should have a rule here so that whoever advertises has to pay my panelist, my panelist, Jagdeep, for today. Would you be happy with a Bitcoin, Jagdeep, or something less?
Bitcoins are good, seeing that they're going up in value.
There you go. Thank you very much, Peter. Best of luck with your new venture, and I hope it goes well. And thank you for coming up today.
Thank you. Thanks again. Thanks all.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Right, Joe. So you all heard the reset that I did. If you've got any questions on growth, please don't be shy. Raise your hand. We'll bring you up on stage, introduce yourself, and then fire away with whatever question you have. I'm trying to bring 𝗏𝗏 up. 𝗏𝗏, thanks for coming up. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Good evening, Anton, Jagdeep, Suhaib, StartUp, Peter, and Okari down there, Denya and Andre. Actually, I am 𝗏𝗏 𝗏 from the Philippines. I don't know if I'm out of place. You see, I realize that everybody here is from UK, right, Anton? So when you're talking about startups, hey.
We can hear you, 𝗏𝗏. We can hear you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, just one question. Everything that you're talking about here is only for Europe, right? Because, you know, like starting up something coming from the Philippines, it's in Southeast Asia. It would be different because we have different government rules and regulations. So if somebody from this place would like to do something up there in UK, actually I've been to UK, I've been to London and Harlow, Essex, and the Isle of Man, and I saw something there. I would like to do startups, hopefully, but just asking, is this the right place for me to ask, or am
this is a decent place enough to ask. We are all, well, the panelists are based in the UK, so it may be you're right. You know, we are better placed to help startups in the UK, but certain challenges that startups have, 𝗏𝗏, they tend to be universal. Do you have anything specific about this business idea that you said you wanted to do in the UK?
You know, I'm in the real estate business. I'm a consultant, broker, appraiser. Would it be very hard to do things like that there? Probably.
No, not at all. In my experience, a few things have changed, but many moons ago, I was in the estate agency business myself. And back then there were literally no certifications or nothing needed. I think things have changed a little bit, but it's not difficult to actually start up. What the main difficult part is finding whether you want to buy or sell or rent or manage. It's finding the people that have the properties. That seems to be the main thing.
Yes.
And then finding the clients that buy or rent them, that's a bit easier.
You know, actually, I'm targeting the Filipinos who are there in the UK. I think there are many. If you go around,
it's a good start. It's a good start. If
Filipinos
I remember,
like me. Yeah, but I think Anton, this is quite a tall order, or I'm boxing the moon. Probably I need to get back there and look around.
that is true. That is true. It's easier. The only thing I would suggest is to do two things now, between now and whenever you decide. Number one, start talking to people that you know here in the UK. Find out where the biggest communities of Filipinos are, which areas. If I remember correctly, there was one in Ladbroke Grove that was quite big. There was one in North London, maybe Edgware, if I remember correctly. But I definitely remember Ladbroke Grove having quite a few Filipinos. So personally, I would talk to people here who already do this and see what it is. And two, maybe start something on social media to talk about Filipinos in the UK and their sort of real estate needs, and just start kind of creating a community. Whether you end up coming here or not, at least you already start kind of building your own sort of warm leads. That might be a good idea.
That's very good, Anton. I haven't thought about it. That's the way to go, I think. Yes, build a community before you go back. Actually, so I'm in the right place, actually. Thank you very much, Anton. I'll be, I've been writing what you're saying right now and try to dig deeper into this, make some studies or assignments, probably. And may I call you, join you again in all your rooms here?
You are more than welcome to join us anytime you like. If you check out on, for example, today's room is being streamed on YouTube and it will be recorded there. So if you look for Startup to Scale Up Club, you can actually listen to the recording if you missed anything, Cherita.
Okay, thank you very much. And
best of luck. And by the way, for those of you that are listening live on YouTube, unfortunately, I can't hear or understand your questions. So if you do have any, please join us on to LinkedIn Live Audio and search for Startup to Scale Up Club, and then just join the room, and that way you can come up live if you want, if you've got any questions. Without further ado, let's now go to Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you, Anton. Yeah, just similar to Peter, I saw Jagdeep was online and I joined the chat. I've been listening intently and I do actually have a question. But first of all, I wanted to say hi to Jagdeep because we haven't spoken for maybe 26 years. We went to college together and we were friends when I was growing up. So from the age of about 5 or 6, we've known each other. But it wasn't until I started this company that I realized that Jagdeep was working in this area, and I thought I'd just jump in, say hello to Jagdeep, and ask my question, if that's okay. So I attended the event Rare Founders on Monday, and I had 6 meetings with potential investors, and there's a bit of interest there. The problem is I'm sort of stuck between 2 different mindsets. My solution is a new process to provide funding for medical education to doctors directly in a fully compliant way. Currently, all medical education goes through non-profit third-party medical education providers. What I've invented is a software solution which allows funding to go from B to B to non-profit to C, which the end client would be the healthcare professional. So the interest I'm getting from the investors, because it's a quite complicated platform, it involves about 5 dashboards. There's an API connecting to electronic health record data. There's a learning management system for medical institutions. It's quite comprehensive. And there's also a large language model, NPL model for a new metric, which I've invented called consensus analytics. So luckily, I have a cousin who's the chief product designer at Salesforce. His name is Nigel Ferris. And he gave me a free consultation. The cost that he gave me was much, much higher than a no-code authoring, and I don't think I'm going to go down no-code. One of the questions, this is coming to the question, the cost to develop this for an MVP, a minimum viable product, is a bit more of a pre-seed, pre-MVP investment. So I have to satisfy, am I going to get enough money to create something which is minimally viable, or do I create a clickable prototype which I can then pre-sale to pharma? The problem with the second option is I've spoken to very senior people at Regeneron and Novartis and Pfizer and all of these different companies. They are not going to provide any upfront contracts unless there is something which is actually on the market. So I'd love your insights and advice on where to go.
That's a very good question, Andrew, and thank you very much for coming up. Two things. First of all, very well done on this idea. And secondly, in terms of how you go about it, a few things worth understanding. Number one, in my experience with what's going on in the market right now, Andrew, it's unfortunately, if not impossible, extremely tough to get any investments, unless obviously you've got a rich auntie, or perhaps you have a background with successful exits in the past, and that's a different story. But if you haven't, it's extremely hard to raise any investment if you actually haven't got traction to show. That traction doesn't necessarily have to be, profit, but at least you need to have a product out there. You need to have people using it, or, for example, in your case, you need to have, you mentioned Novartis and a few others, you need to have some really strong, what they call LOIs, letters of intention, where they say, if you have this in the market, we will go ahead and sign XYZ contract with you. That might put you in a good light. Personally, what I would do, I would look at two things right now. I would look at accelerators/incubators, and then I would look at angel investors. So people, ideally, people that have already had a business in similar waters to yours, and they've gone on to sell it, they made money, and now they have the expertise, the background, the know-how, the connections, and also the money not to be desperate about earning something right now. That's what I would focus on. And perhaps you can also look at certain companies like Novartis and so on, and try and find a closer way to work together, i.e., I'm willing to bring this in-house to you if you help me build it, or can you help me build it and be the initial investors, and I am willing to give you XYZ discounts in how we use this. But it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, to be honest with you, because without having a product out there, it's going to be really tough. And if you do find a way to get that product done, try to come up with the absolute minimum features that you need. So don't overcomplicate it. Keep it as simple as you possibly can. But if you want to go into a bit more detail on this investment side, we've got a room tomorrow on fundraising where we have some investors on stage, and we'd be more than happy to kind of go into a bit more detail. I don't know if Jagdeep wants to add anything here.
Hi, Andrew. So I think just based upon what you've asked for, I think one offer which I can put out to you is if you want to have a chat offline, I can help you in that space around what does MVP look like, the cost modeling, etc. And again, it comes from a perspective of not being biased towards any tech. So just ping me offline and we can maybe set up a call, because I think, it requires a bit more thought, and we can have a chat. And so that's one. I think on the fundraising side, similarly, it is challenging to find funding, especially in startups, pre-seed especially. But I would also say that don't limit yourself to look for investors in the UK. There's a ton of investors in other geographies, Middle East, etc. And health tech is actually becoming a pretty big deal, especially in the Middle East now. So I wouldn't preclude myself from looking in those areas as well for investors. Those would be my initial thoughts. But I think to your point, in many cases, I would say MVP. What I've found is founders actually bootstrapping, but they're very specific about what MVP looks like, and that usually helps, at least for that initial stage, around friends and family funding, etc. And then once you're over that initial hurdle, you've got MVP to market, then you can accelerate and build above it, and that's where you can start kicking in investment, etc., from external sources. But happy to have a chat offline.
That would be great, Jagdeep. Thank you, Anton. I'll drop you a message.
You're very welcome. And Andrew, another place worth looking at is Innovate UK. Go to their site, and they've got a lot of calls that could come in handy and might be worth looking into.
Perfect, thank you. I'm aware. Yeah, I know those guys. I've looked into them as well, so that's another option. Thank you.
Good stuff. Best of luck, and thank you very much for coming up.
Yeah,
We've got 5
minutes as well. Yeah.
Pardon?
I'll be there tomorrow.
Good man. Yes, please feel free to join us. You can actually, if you go onto the website, StartUp to ScaleUp.club, you'll see tomorrow's room is scheduled there, and you can RSVP so that way you kind of get an alert basically for it, and you secure your spot.
Perfect. Thank you.
Best of luck with your business. Thank you very much. Right, we've got 4 minutes to go. This is Startup Growth Q&A. We do this every Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, where we seek to help startups like yourselves with whatever questions you may have on growing your business to the next stage. User, client, vendor, partner acquisition, growth hacks, go-to-market, sales, marketing, advertising, branding in general. I think we might have time for one more question if anybody wants to come up. Otherwise, just remember, we run 4 regular rooms per week: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, and Thursdays fundraising, and they're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. Since we haven't got any questions, we've got 3 minutes to go. We've got a few questions that were sent in to us, but we're not going to go through. Yes, Sahai.
Yeah, thank you, Anton. So I just wanted to understand. So, for example, we had this was my first session. So, if I want to reach out to you or Jagdeep or anyone on the panel, like what's the process like? Hello?
I'm sorry, me and my fat thumbs, I forgot to unmute.
Okay.
Well, I didn't forget, I kept pressing, but I was pressing the wrong place. It's quite simple. So hey, if you want to reach out, let's say Jagdeep, you send a LinkedIn invite and personalize it, and you say, Jagdeep, I was with you in the growth room, and I'd love to connect, and then take it from there.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Simple as that. You're very welcome, and best of luck. Jagdeep, any parting words for us, buddy?
No, I think just echoing about some of the conversations we've had. I would say always try and get your research, and also don't be afraid to ask for help. Many times I've asked for help and reached out to experts, etc. There is definitely no substitute for experience, and everyone's on a learning curve. So yeah, hence these sessions.
Thank you very much for your time and input today, Jagdeep. I really appreciate that. Huge thanks to everyone that tuned in, especially to those of you that came up for questions. Just a reminder, we run 4 regular rooms per week: Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, and Thursdays fundraising. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. Today's room has also been streamed onto YouTube. So if you've missed anything, you can find the recording there. Just search for Startup to Scale Up Club on YouTube, and there in the videos you'll find the latest there, which is basically a simple screen recording of what we're doing here and streamed onto YouTube, but you can hear everything that we talked about. On the other hand, I see Akari who wants to come up. I'm sorry, buddy, but it is now 1 o'clock. So we need to shut shop, but happy to have a chat if you want to join us either tomorrow for fundraising or any of the other rooms, i.e. growth, next week. As far as my parting words, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So in the meantime, try to have some fun and be kind to yourself and everyone else. Otherwise, huge thanks again. Hopefully we'll see you all for startup fundraising tomorrow. Thank you. And God bless. Bye-bye for now.